Alright, how you doing? This is stage name BK Black Krishna from manfowars.com here at 4:28 p.m. Tuesday, February 5th, 2019 in downtown Toronto, Canada. 4:29 p.m. I'm trying to promote polite patriotism. So polite Canadian ladies and gents and other people worldwide in their local custom can insist on that, raise confident children who insist on that, and then look, walk, talk, and feel great and communicate well offline about all the great stuff they learn online, right? There's a handful of patriots in Canada, a handful of patriots in America relative to the overall population, and they are reaching lots of people, right? And a lot of people know what's going on. It's not all bad, not all horrible, whatever. It's not all great, right? But it is all empowering if you're the people that are trying to empower you. Not a lot of the mainstream media. Some good people work there. They certainly have access to do good work, and but the independent media analyzes that work and gives you different ways of looking at the world and spends more time thinking about that sort of thing, and then you can respect or reject that analysis as you like, as opposed to people, professional lying bitches in the media in many cases, making more bitches who make more bitches who make more bitches out of normal people in the great globalist bitch out. Online, Twitter, I'm all messed up, tweet this, It's not a conversation between adults where you can help each other be cool, right? And, or the way you're supposed to feel about things. Not know much, but know you're supposed to feel really bad. As opposed to know I know a lot, and good or bad, I'm cool, and I can make sure other people are cool, right? And that's, I think, generally, guys' job. Make sure things are cool. Girls, make sure things are fun. Women, here to put you in a good mood and make babies. That's it. You got to make sure of that. Everything else a bonus. Great, no problem. Funny, make money, blah blah blah. Great, that's bonus. Or pain in the ass. Maybe I got to go do this, visit that, watch Amy Schumer, spend 2 hours at Pottery Barn picking out dishes we'll use twice a year, like that, right? But hey, good mood, nice to each other. Who cares, right? So, a man can climb mountains, wrestle grizzly bears. So this is just whatever. Or even this girl problem. Guys bitching out, sexually harassing each other, jealously harassing girls and kids when they won't pay attention to each other enough. Just normal guys, not trying to be gay or LGBT, whatever, right? And making everyone sort of the same corporate clone or zombie. Force people to see them look ugly and running away because you can't normally get along with people. So just go bother strangers, right? Walk around, spaz out, bother people, and run away, right? Polite patriotism can help beat that, right? And you can see the market for it because the great globalist brainwashing and bitch out creates lying bitches begging to be broken. I've got the last couple of years on video, whatever, and so it's a question of interest, right? But it's typically lying bitches begging to be broken get off of being ignored, right? They'll hear that, they'll say that, they'll get off, they'll take their turn, they'll get into it and get out of it, right? The girls lying bitches begging to be broken, sick of being a bitchy, sketchy, ball-busting, pretend girlfriend liar with everybody, making them uncomfortable. Guys, sick of it, or just trying to copy girls, all messed up and sick of it, or sick of guys. Kids doing it. So, cool guys, nice girls, cute kids, that sort of, right? So, I went over the meat of that matter, and that's why I'm promoting polite patriotism in the last video, and I confirmed that. But here, what I'm doing is I'm looking live in real time at some alternative sources of news and alternative ways of looking at the world from a few of my favorite websites to do that with. So let's just say hypothetically, not hypothetically, really, not hypothetically, really. It's really 4:32 p.m. on Tuesday, February 5th, 2019. There you go, BK Black Krishna from manfowars.com. And I've got my Starbucks here. Got a little break in the afternoon. And as this gets a lot worse, you can see clearly juxtaposed, how people react and how people make it hard to do anything except for act rude and sketchy. Too rude and sketchy to do anything except for act rude and sketchy. Can't just say hello, can't be nice to people, can't look at people comfortably, talk to people comfortably, right? Just constantly act rude and sketchy, like zombies, right? You can see how people make it hard to do anything or say anything, talk about anything, right? So this is something I'm looking at. And I'm going to show you how some of these alternative news sources can be very, very valuable. So this is one of my favorite news sources, Breitbart.com, 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 founded by the late, great Andrew Breitbart, who said politics is downstream from pop culture because pop culture kind of conditions us and gets us to accept certain things, often through fiction or through making things normal, and then politics kind of changes the culture on us and makes laws that, hate speech laws. Supposed to be mature people can hate something and not be a bitch. They make it so that you're supposed to hate things and not be able to talk and not let anyone else, right? So just a bitchy, hateful, creature making sure everyone is, right? So, that's what they'll do. And so Breitbart.com helps deal with that. So there is Breitbart.com, the website logo there, here live in real time. And as I scroll down, first thing it says, so to suspense. So to, that's the State of the Union, the big speech by President Donald Trump, the U.S. President Donald Trump tonight. How will Trump address wide open border? Right? So I'm going to open this, take a quick look at it, but I'll tell you this, okay, on its face. You might be like, oh crap, no, don't talk about that, make sure nobody can talk about that. No, everyone be quiet and uncomfortable. Don't say anything or do anything. We've got people in charge. It's like, look, the reason you're such a lying, bitchy mess, an anti-free speech, commie zombie, about this shit, is because you're terrified of it. You're sure it's a bad idea, but you don't want to just, enforce the state's policy on making sure nobody can say shit about where we live. But the truth is, people like borders. They like their personal space. Even if they get worked up and, force people to see them look ugly or bump into people or rub up against people to try and make people put up with them, people do like their personal space. That's why people have to work so hard to force people to see them look ugly or bump into or rub up against them. Because people do like their borders around themselves. Like, there's a certain, even with a lot of people, even in a crowded bar or a crowded concert, and still be near people while using space well and not trying to make each other uncomfortable, or you can do it poorly by making each other uncomfortable, right? People still want borders, personal borders. People still want borders on their privacy, right? When it comes to, I don't really want my phone to be constantly looking at me and coming up with some ways to brainwash me and control me easier, right? I really don't want that, or my Alexa or Siri or whatever's in my house listening to me and spying on me or whatever, right? I don't really want that, right? People want borders on their privacy. People want borders on their house. They want to lock their door or lock their car. They want to have a fence, right? People want borders. People want walls. And people want borders when it comes to their country, if they put any thought into it and if they care about where they live and they're proud of it, and they think they've got a good thing going where they're not bad people doing bad things to people in that country. They just are people who are like, why can't we talk about what your plan is? Why do we all have to be lying, bitchy, sketchy, Antifa-style corporate clones and commie zombies who make sure everyone's quiet and uncomfortable so you can do whatever you want and nobody can say shit about anything, let alone anything important like that? Because people are worried about it, and there are people, some of it might be brainwashing, some of it might be infiltration, some of it might be corporate clones, who knows what it is. But, if Canadians have self-respect and they can show and get it, then they communicate about these things, right? So, my point is, I just want to be able to make sure we're polite, patriotic people who can have a conversation about this. It's not about, nobody say nothing, they said something, everybody shut up, be quiet, uncomfortable. It's like, what the fuck is that, right? Like, let's just have a rational conversation about borders and culture and how we were world famous for being nice, polite Canadians for 150 years and how we want to preserve our national identity. Polite unity is our strength. Make sure you're cool no matter where you go. You're not going to screw around. People mess with each other for no reason. Happens once in a while, say in the mall, in 5 minutes, a couple people have told security and they, escort them out. They can't control their body, their brain, what they're doing to people, all messed up and stuff. They play, ignore, forget about it. Give them a chance to calm down, have their dignity. If they run into enough polite Canadians, they should be able to stop, right? So, if you want to have a conversation about that, right? About the European manners and standards, right? About who built this country and why we thought it was a great country. Why, for the last 20, 30 years, right? It's been like, the UN says Canada's so great. Oh, we're so great. Oh, we're stupidly happy people. Yeah, why? Because you're polite Canadian. You're stupidly happy. You know when people act rude puts you in a good mood? Being polite, nice puts you in a good mood? So you're stupidly happy Canadian. I mean, don't get too stupid. You want to be nice enough to people to talk to people and people talk to each other, because then something does come up, you can say it, right? It's like a bunch of stupidly happy Canadians go watch a movie at the movie theater. Like, hey, how's it going? Oh, polite, brief Canadian. Out of the way, on the road. Get my seat. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I've got to go to the bathroom. Oh, no problems. Get out of your way. Nice. It was actually nice to meet you, even if we had to do that. Inconvenience you a bit. Because we were nice to each other, it wasn't so bad. You come back from the bathroom, you sit down, you watch the movie, right? But if there's a fire in the crowded theater, he goes, hey, fire, crowd theater. All polite kids with each other. Oh, crap. Everybody, get each other out of here. Grab a woman, grab a kid, throw them over your shoulders. Boom, get them the fuck out of here, right? So that's polite Canadians, right? And do you want to preserve that culture, right? Our culture, our Euro manners and standards that made us all generally cool, and then specifically able to flex our individuality. Straight, 95+% of people, great. LGBT, whatever, also great at it. Being nice, polite Canadians, and nobody's messed up or messing around or messed with or whatever, right? And then, if you want to be, extra whatever, anywhere, go ahead. Go, to see this music or this culture or this whatever or this yoga or this, who cares? It doesn't make a difference, right? But you're unified in being polite Canadians. So, with all of this being threatened, polite patriotic nationalists versus rude, lying, bitchy globalists, brainwashing, right? Either polite, patriots, teach kids, make more, nice, helpful people share what they know to improve where they live, or rude, lying, bitchy, sketchy globalist zombies, where everyone's a rude, lying, bitchy, sketchy girl, and they put up with me. It doesn't matter. I know I bother people who don't like it if they don't like me. Yeah, and then we're sick of each other, and then I bother strangers. Yeah, and you're not going to like it. I bother you till you don't like me, and then I go bother. Then that's insane, right? Like, that's crazy. So the reason I bring all that up here at 6:40 p.m. on Tuesday, February 5th, 2019, is where would a Canadian learn to think like that? One of the places is at Breitbart.com, right? Because I just looked at the headline of this, and I thought, State of the Union suspense, how will Trump address wide open border? And Canada's got a border problem as well. At Roxham Road, our border guards are basically acting as bellhops, taking in luggage for refugees, coming over with 9 pieces of luggage, right? Or you're supposed to act like a lying, bitchy, sketchy, Antifa-style, commie, zombie, corporate clone, make everyone quiet and uncomfortable so nobody can talk about it, and then they can destroy the country, right? It's not because you hate people. There were people here before you didn't hate. People in Toronto and people in Canada in general were nice and polite with all sorts of different people. There wasn't suddenly, it was about being nice and polite. That's what it was. It wasn't about like, oh, you're this color. Oh, we hate this people of this color. Or, so people hate people. No, it's fine. Even if you did have those biases, if people were polite, you could eventually, be cool with each other, and you could get over those biases, right? So you could be on a construction site and be like, I hate these people, I hate the white people, I hate black people, I hate this, I hate that. But you work together, you're polite Canadians. You're like, he's okay. That's not a big, because you're nice to each other. Right? But in the globalist identity politics trap, turning people into Antifa-style corporate clones and commie zombies, you can't be nice to each other, so you can't communicate well. Right? So that's what we're losing here, is our ability to be nice enough to each other to communicate well and get rid of all that crap, on our brain, the identity politics, the racist, sexist, phobic, whatever. And all of that is related to border security. So when I say that just the headline alone, so too suspense. How will Trump address wide open border by Neil Monroe? That just popped up today, Tuesday, February 5th, 2019 at Breitbart.com. All of that is on my mind as well about Canada. Right? And that's the headline. And this is what it says here. White House. Trump will play up, quote, safe and legal immigration in State of the Union. Okay. So, is this something, and again, the radical left protesters, if you go to a radical left protest, Women's March or Trump, and it's all on video, you can see it, right? They're not, most of them, because people are looking, people are starving for a decent conversation with somebody about these types of issues. But the leaders of the radical left, the sort of, bitchy mess, gotta go, hold up a sign, hold up a giant vagina, pussy power, look at this giant rubber vagina. It's like, gee, you're just gross. What are you doing? What are you doing in public? This is my protest. It's like, You have something important to tell me that's going to affect my future, my kids. What the hell's wrong with you? I put up with that. Those are the people that are at the forefront of a lot of liberal ideas, right? So that's how they make normal people into that as well, right? Because this is a good conversation to have. You know, why can't we talk about how it's going to work? How is it working? That's all I want to know. I really don't care, right? Like if you're like, yo, this is what we're going to do. You've got a country of 35 million people or so. We're going to let in another 35 million people in the next 10 years. Double the population. I'm like, all right. I didn't agree. We're having a conversation. How is that going to work? How much is it going to cost? Who are we bringing in? How are they? No, don't! Lying, bitchy, sketchy, commie, zombie, make everyone quiet, uncomfortable, don't sit. And then that's what and then you can't talk about it. You see? That's the liberal zombie brainwashing, right? And that's what the liberal protesters do too. Because I'd be totally fine if you can have somebody be like, no, I'm, not a globalist, radical left, Antifa style, lying, bitchy, sketchy, commie, zombie. Just going to freak out, make sure everyone knows I'm all freaked out. I'm doing the right thing. I'm cool. I can make sure you're cool. That's not what they're selling. The radical left protesters aren't selling that. The open borders advocates aren't selling that. They're selling, I can't explain that to you, and I'm going to freak out if you don't agree with me. And that's what they're turning normal people into as well, normal liberals into. Right? So that's the problem. And you can watch, videos for this. So that's why I bring this up, because at Breitbart.com, you're going to have here at 4:45 p.m., Tuesday, February 5th, 2019. At Breitbart.com, for example, BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com, you're going to have a different way of looking at this than what you typically get, which is, you're racist, sexist, phobic, don't be phobic, don't be whatever, don't say anything. It's like, no. World famous, nice, polite Canadians, proud, patriotic, don't mess with people, not messed with, easy to, you invite one to any country, they're like, oh, it's Canadian, don't worry about them, they're fine, they're nice. Or you go to Canada, don't worry about them, they're nice, right? And so it's not a big deal, right? So we can talk about these things. So, but that's what's being attacked as part of this process. And that's what lets all the other stuff happen. So what it says here, Trump will play up safe and legal immigration in the State of the Union. Everybody wants safe and legal immigration. Everybody, even all these Canadians, even the Antifa-style commie zombies, want safe and legal immigration. What they want to make sure you do is you can't talk about it. You cannot talk about who you're letting into your country. And this is part of the left's destruction of borders in general, right? Borders on your country, borders on your privacy, borders on your mind, borders on who can raise your kids and what people can say to them that we thought was awful, right? Borders on your personal space, borders on your time and peace of mind, right? They're all gone when you're corporate clone, Antifa-style commie zombie. It's all gone. We have Canada, we have our borders, we got to make sure we let in only the best and brightest, and we've got over 1 million children living in poverty in Canada. There's a few 100,000 living in poverty in Ontario. Why are we, letting in all these people from around the world? It's just a brain drain on their countries that go to hell anyway, when it's mostly military-aged men who come here and go, I don't feel like bitching out, I feel like taking over. Fuck these guys. They can't even look at each other and talk to each other. Forget it, rape them, rape the women. Don't worry, have 10 kids each. They can't even look at each other. And then they take over. Right? It's not a handful of people that are showing up to a country with polite, patriotic people, respect each other, make sure those people conform to that in general, then go do whatever you want with the people that get along with each other, anything. You want to play Connect 4? Don't play Connect 4. You want to be this culture or this background? But generally, this is how Canadians roll. Nice, world famous, nice, polite Canadians. Or fuck off, buddy, not worth it, eh? I mean, you know how it is. Right? So, this is what is at stake. The ability to even talk about it. Because I'd be perfectly fine, if somebody was to be like, this headline from Breitbart News, White House, in tonight's State of the Union address. Trump will play up, quote, safe and legal immigration in State of the Union by Neil Monroe. And then I see this at Breitbart.com, right? And I read this as somebody that's a fan of Breitbart.com, for example, right? not saying I agree with everything. Nobody agrees. I don't agree with everything I say. I say a lot of stuff, but I'm just saying, like, you don't agree on everything, but there's a respect there for a lot of the great work they produce, and it's valuable to not just Americans but Canadians, who can have a bit more balls in our mindset when it comes to philosophically looking at these things, and can analyze pop culture and some of that type of brainwashing better too, right? But if I were to read this, if I were to even say this headline, not even look at the meat of the matter of the news, would it be possible to have a conversation? Because I wouldn't mind if some, brilliant, liberal, professional, a lawyer, a doctor, a professor, an engineer, or a student, or whoever, was to be able to have a good conversation about this article, convince me this is bullshit, and get me to stop, bullshitting people with what I'm doing, or what I'm saying, right? But instead, you can't, and you always have to bullshit people with what you're doing and what you're saying. Right? It's bullshit, me acting rude and sketchy, making you put up with me. It's bullshit what I'm saying, not nice to you, so what's the point? It's making you put up with me one way and another, right? So you can't even have a conversation, because as soon as this comes up, that's what'll happen, right? And this is also part of the pressure on guys, especially, because girls, again, can get away with, not saying or doing that much, just being good company. Like, oh, nice to have a girl here. Not always a girl here. Great. Right? Nice girl, nice guy. Great. No problem. Right? Guys, you shouldn't be a dick. You shouldn't bother people. You shouldn't, be a jerk. You shouldn't be a creep. You shouldn't be a whatever. You shouldn't be too aloof. But you want to be cool. Right? Be cool. Make sure you're cool. Other people are cool. That's it. Right? That's the main job. And so, with all the pressure on men especially not to say or do anything, there's more that are just getting away with just acting rude and sketchy, like a rude, lying, bitchy, sketchy, ugly girl, bothering everyone, making everyone put up with and act like them. It's like nothing to say, nothing to do. Just gonna act rude, lying, bitchy, and sketchy, bust your balls and bother you. You know how it is. Yeah, I know. It's kind of like, I don't know. I'm saying nothing, but I'm trying to say something a little bit, so put up with me acting like a rude, lying, bitchy, sketchy, ugly girl. Sorry to make you a little bit uncomfortable, but I really have to say this little thing. Sorry, I really have to say this little thing. Like, what is it? It's like there's a spider on your shoe, and I knew it would make you uncomfortable, so I have to act like a rude, lying, bitchy, sketchy, ugly girl, and I didn't want to make you more uncomfortable, so put up with me, and then you gotta get that spider. You're like, oh, thanks, man, as opposed to skipping all that, right? Or maybe if you're trying to talk about something controversial, or whatever, right? That's the problem. That's how people mess with each other and mess each other up. So I want to make that point clear, is I don't think, and based on what you can tell, that you can even get past the headline. And I don't think, when it comes to the other side of things, they have much for you either. That's why Breitbart News is so important, and that's why it can help Canadians as well. So, I'm going to read a bit of this article here. White House, Trump will play up safe and legal immigration in State of the Union by Neil Monroe from February 5th, 2019. It says here, White House deputies are playing up the role of immigration in the President's State of the Union speech, setting alarms among immigration reformers. Quote, I'm concerned that in his effort to tout the positive economy, he will give the impression that business needs more labor, and that he intends to help them out with that, said Jessica Vaughn, Policy Director at the Center for Immigration Studies. Quote, it means that even though we are on the brink of seeing real significant improvements in wages, they can be forestalled if employers back off their efforts to compete for U.S. workers. So here's the thing, right? If, again, polite, patriotic people, nice to each other, not nice enough to talk to each other. Not always not nice, so can't talk to each other, have to, not get along with each other, go bother strangers instead, right? But if people could do that offline, right? Not just online, but offline, like with real humans near you, when you act like humans. Not just attacked for acting like a human, but act like. Not just attack anyone who acts like a human, or be attacked for acting like a human, or attack someone, but to actually act like humans, nice to each other. You could talk about these things. Because what this article by Neil Monroe and this quote by Jessica Vaughn is basically saying is that the more people you bring into your country, the less you'll get paid. the more people you bring into your country, the less you'll get paid. Does that mean you should bring no one in so that you get paid more? Not necessarily. No, sometimes there are issues or labor shortages or there's situations, and there's certainly, if they're compatible, they're polite, patriotic Canadians, the Canadian identity, world famous for it, then who cares, And if you're not from around here, act like you're from around here or get the hell out of here, right? Yes, mess with people, right? Don't need to bring that in here, right? So, but if people act nice enough to talk to each other, they could talk about how if you bring in more people, you'll get paid less. Because that's what happens. Because the labor pool is larger, right? The labor pool is larger. So there are more people looking for the same number of jobs, and with the strain that puts on the system, right? Sometimes businesses like it because they can hire people for cheaper, right? Either under the table or over the table. Even over the table, they'll be like, you just got it from the Philippines. You're making $35,000 a year. It's like, that job used to pay $65. Yeah, but they just got it from the Philippines. What do they know, right? Who cares? Now that job pays $35, right? So that's what tends to happen, is it drives down wages, and people make less money. It's also a drain on the system. It's a drain on resources, drain on taxpayers, and so on and so forth. It's not because you hate those people, right? Ideally, people wouldn't, you wouldn't have a brain drain from any country. You wouldn't have too many people coming in. You'd be able to discuss these things. You'd be able to have a reasonable conversation about how the process is working, not just stop everyone from having that conversation because you freak out the most. Right? And that's the difference. That's why I'm recommending Breitbart.com to Canadians and others worldwide, for example, because you look at these things differently. You're at 4:55 p.m. on Tuesday, February 5th, 2019 in downtown Toronto, Canada. Because if people can get a more, in fairness to the U.S., right, they've been much more involved in global affairs, so they've got a much deeper history when it comes to that. They have a much deeper history when it comes to fighting for freedom, including having a civil war to win their own freedom, coming up with a constitution and guaranteed Bill of Rights in a republic, which means your rights are guaranteed, as opposed to a democracy where half the people could take them away. Right? So, for example, if I say right now, right, I have a right to be a polite, patriotic Canadian. I don't want to bother people or be bothered. I want to look, walk, talk, and feel great, communicate well, I want to learn online, offline, not be a mess for myself or someone else to put up with, make sure I'm cool and I can help other people be cool. Right? It's like, well, okay, man, it sounds like you just want your right to property, your body, your peace of mind, your personal space, right? And you're not bothering people, you're not being criminal, your right to be cool extends to your fist. You don't use your fist to bump anyone else or punch anyone else or rub up against anyone else or spaz out and bother anyone else. I get it. And your free speech, you want to just express that thought but not get in someone's face and harass them, right? Cool, right? In a republic, those type of rights are guaranteed. In a democracy, half the people could vote to take them away. They'd be like, no, you have to get worked up and act rude and sketchy until you make everyone get worked up and act rude and sketchy, and nobody can be nice enough to really want to look at or talk to each other much, so they'd rather wander around like zombies bothering strangers, trying to make more zombies and people less zombie, and run away people more zombie bothering them, and spaz out in self-defense and get the hell out of there. They can pass that law, right? So America has more of a history of that, and they are 10 times the size of Canada. Canada has about 35 million people. America has 350 million people. So I'm not saying overall which country is better, which country is worse. But when it comes to fighting for freedom and prosperity and opportunity and security, they have some of the best, because they are some of the best in the world to admire. People, Brazil's new leader admires America freedom, and Trump-style nationalism, which brings so many people so much happiness and joy, and the people that don't like it can't really explain why. They just make sure they're a mess and other people are a mess and nobody can say anything while their country is destroyed. So it's proud, polite, patriotic, happiness and joy, or everyone shut up and be quiet and act bitchy and sketchy and let your country be destroyed. Right? Those are the options. And again, I'm fine with informed and empowered conservatives, liberals, communists, doesn't matter. But nice, polite, and then we can all discuss things. And if we're coming from a good place, you'll know it when it comes to how we act and when it comes to what we say. If you're not coming from a good place, then we'll know it when it comes to how you act and what you say. But the default now, with social constipation, trouble talking, often caused by gender neutralization, trouble acting like men and women, don't be good at being a man, don't be good at being a woman. Unless you switch, then do whatever the hell you want. We'll say it's okay. Have your 8-year-old boy dance on stage, at a gay strip club while adults stuff dollars in their G-string. It's fine. They're a little gay trans boy. It's great. No, it's totally you. Don't be good at being a man. Don't be cool. Don't you be good at being a woman. Confident, graceful, vulnerable, attractive. No. Right? That attack is, making it hard to do all this, right? And so that's what the left is basically selling you, right? You can't be good. You can't do anything you like. Basically, you have to be a mess. You have to be a mess. You get credit for being a mess and being messed up. I'm all messed up. What up with me? I'm all messed up. I'm with this. Whatever, right? Even straight people, even normal, straight, confident, play happy people. It's just so fashionable to be a mess. A miserable, weak, lying, bitchy man. Then lying, bitchy woman. What's she gonna do with lying bitchy kids? Right? That's where you get the time to bother strangers when you're always lying and bitching to each other, and you can't properly get along, right? So that's why I recommend Breitbart.com before the 2019 Canadian federal elections, because you'll get a different look at this, right? And here at 5 p.m., Tuesday, February 5th, 2019, downtown Toronto, Canada, BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com. As I said, more people you let in, less money you'll make. Larger labor pool. They say in terms of real wages compared to corporate CEOs and others in upper management, wages have been stagnant since the 70s. So just now where we have technology and resources and innovation and, pro-nationalist, conservative, free market, libertarian ideas, stimulate the economy, leverage all that, freedom up, not identity politics, messed up, they put up with me, you can't say anything, I don't respect you, what's the point? It's just mess, whatever, right? When you have the opposite of that, tons of freedom and prosperity and opportunity available, as people controlling their own countries, instead of destroying your country and folding it into a global governance structure where the super rich people with the UN and World Bank and Davos and international treaties and the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs and the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the Paris Climate Accord, they can control the whole world, right? And get everyone kind of commie zombie, right? Instead of that, we have the option to do something better. So anyway, that's one article, right? And again, I just barely scratched the surface of that. But there's a lot more to this point and this topic. I'm going to skip ahead here at Breitbart.com to show you another option, right? We go back to the main page. And again, this is live in real time, 5 p.m. on, and this is just one example. There's many, many more. But I'm just saying there's so much to say about that, right? About just the basic concepts, the basic idea. If proud, polite, patriotic Canadian ladies and gentlemen who can raise confident, nice kids who communicate well can do that, right? If not, then of course it becomes hard or impossible. So, back to Breitbart.com. For example, there's a few others I recommend. You can go to manforwars.com, support the Man for Wars efforts. Right? It says here, meet with the press, kind of a pun. And again, they're clever folks at Breitbart. MEAT. It says here, Trump hosts establishment media for off-the-record lunch before State of the Union. POTUS preps with CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, Fox News, and more. And it's kind of funny. There you go. There's a lot of people. The people that know Trump and what he's up to the best can be some of his fiercest critics, right? Because they actually know what he's up to, right? And there's a lot of good stuff, but there's also some bad stuff, right? So here, this article, Donald Trump hosts establishment media for off-the-record lunch before State of the Union. And this is from Breitbart.com. And when it comes to the two websites, news organizations primarily, that elected Trump, Breitbart.com was number one, more than likely. Infowars.com by Alex Jones was another one, and his team of 100 people out of Austin, Texas. And there's also a handful of others, and of course tons of individuals and other smaller groups, but they were key. And one of the things that upsets me about Trump, and I'm happy to discuss this with people nice to each other and not mess with each other, so why not take you seriously, I don't take them seriously. But Trump is hosting an establishment media off-the-record lunch instead of talking to people like Breitbart.com. He did one interview with Infowars.com. Even though the independent media is fighting like crazy, he's still an establishment media guy, where it's sort of Fox News, and he's got his own back and forth with the media. But I think as nationalism succeeds against this, right? Trump got into office in January of 2017. It's currently February of 2019. It's been 2 years. Most people who hate him and hate what he's up to don't know what the hell he's been doing for the last 2 years. Just like the people that love Obama don't know what the hell he did for 8 years. Right? It's just, I love Obama, he's good. I saw him at sporting game, he's a regular guy, right? It's not really, he could just sell you, you're going to like whatever he says. If he's campaigning for Hillary Clinton in October of 2016, and Obama gets on stage and says, Trump says he's running for president here in October 2016, and I'm campaigning for Hillary. Trump says he's going to create all these jobs. Well, how is he going to do that? Does he have a magic wand or something like that? How is he just going to create all these jobs, right? And he's there, and he's talking to 500 people at this event. People are cheering, yeah, Obama, you're president for 8 years. President can't create jobs. Nothing president can do to create jobs. Yeah, Trump's so crazy talk about create jobs. Yeah, magic wand, Trump and magic wand. No, that's not what he did. Trump, you can see this on the White House YouTube channel. He got a bunch of CEOs together at a great big, square table, one of those big boardroom tables. He got like 50, 100 CEOs together, or different groups, whatever, and said, you people are great, and America can be great, and you've got great companies, and these are great, great companies, and we want to do great, great things here, and we want to make sure you bring more jobs here, because this is great companies, and he basically said, so how about putting our jobs here? We'll give you a tax cut, tax break, we'll give your employees a bonus, you'll do so well, you don't have to ship everything to China because we're destroying the West and we're making everyone a paranoid, bitchy mess, right? No, you can build here, it's cool, I'm the president. Look at you, 100 CEOs, American CEOs at this great big table. How about putting some jobs here? What do you say? And so they looked at each other and went, yeah, all right, cool. We're Americans, the president can do that, if this was going to happen. Obama was saying, you need a magic wand. Yeah, Trump says you got a magic wand to create jobs. Obama could have done that, right? And the same people that hate Trump, don't know what Obama did, right? Don't know some of his failings. They can maybe say healthcare to some degree, but they can't really explain why it's a good thing. It's just sort of, this how I feel, don't say anything else. This how I feel, don't say anything else. This how I feel, don't say anything else. And that extends to just acting like that constantly, as opposed to even expressing that more comfortably, like you could 5-10 years ago. Where you could be like, I know, yeah, you might, but I just don't want to talk. Now it's just like, everyone shut up. Right? So, and especially great when we had guys, saying more, doing more, them being cool, not a mess, because they're not, nothing to say, nothing to do except for bother you, nothing to say, nothing to do except for bother you, nothing to do except for bother you. Right? And they chill out. And then girls be cool, guys stay polite and busy, girls polite and busy, but also gracefully distracting kids. You're cool, anybody mess around, just politely ignore them, give them a chance to calm down, right? People look away, strangers, nor forget about it, so on. So, my point in saying that is Trump is still trying to charm the establishment media into being fans of his. And he was a TV star for 20 years. He was shouted up by rappers. He was given awards by black people, by gay people. Black people love him because he hires black people. Gay people love him because he hires gay people. Because a lot of them are single, and they can work crazy hours at his casinos, and then they can get like 6 months off and a huge bonus. It's like, hey, you made me $1 million, here's $100,000. Go take your boyfriend somewhere. Have fun, you crazy kids. He didn't care. He's a practical guy. He's a businessman in that sense, right? And in terms of, the few things, he treats women badly. No, he's just an alpha male. He doesn't treat them badly. When he says grab him by the pussy, he was talking off the record supposedly to Billy Bush, a young entertainment reporter, when he was being egged on. Come on, you're a billionaire. You're a good-looking guy. You must get tons of chicks. He said, what can you do? And he's like, well, look, kid, if you want to know how good I got it, as a billionaire, a good-looking, famous TV star billionaire, and we're just kind of behind camera, and you're a young, up-and-coming entertainment reporter, Billy Bush, and there's no cameras around, and I'm talking about groupies. I'm not talking about strangers. I'm talking about groupies. I'm a businessman. I'm polite, do this, Don't do anything like that. Whatever. Germaphobe. Get that close. Whatever. I like being cool and looking at girls. Don't get me wrong. I'm cool. They're hot. We're fine, right? When he went to Studio 54 in the 80s, the famous Andy Warhol nightclub, a lot of people doing drugs, a lot of artists, whatever, people in New York, crazy scene. Trump didn't drink, Trump didn't do drugs, but he'd be cool, and he'd check out, and the girls walk by, I'm sexy, and he'd be like, I'm cool, I'm sexier, I'm still cool, I'm so sexy, he'd be like, God damn, baby, he'd smile, and girls laugh, tease him, sometimes they'll tease him back, hey, baby, are you sure you're not missing the button? Oh, stop it, because they're acting nice with each other. Confident masculine strength, confident feminine vulnerability, right? Because they're cool, right? Because they can carry themselves in a way that's cool. So Trump, when he's talking about grabbing by the pussy, he was telling this guy, about groupies. Same thing. Brad Pitt could say it. Justin Bieber could say it. If Justin Bieber, was with Billy Bush, or a young entertainment reporter. Hey, Justin Bieber's what, 25 now? He's dealing with some 19-year-old, not 16 or 14, not corrupting a kid. But some 19, 21-year-old. Hi there. I'm a Much Music DJ, and my voice is just barely breaking. I bet you get so many girls, Justin Bieber. What could you do to those girls? I bet it's so cool. And at first he's going to say, just like Trump did, no, I just focused on the music and whatever, and I'm cool. No, but seriously, come on, man. I'm just a young, horny guy in the entertainment industry. Tell me how much groupies like you. He's like, well, they grab them by the pussy, they jump all over you, and all they want is to rip your clothes off and to show you how much they like you by giving you their body. It's awesome, That's the ones who like me. It's groupies, right? So even that, you're not supposed to have a rational discussion, right? Even if he was talking about doing it to strangers in supermarkets, you could have a rational discussion about how that is completely wrong. But the idea is you're not supposed to know much, you're not supposed to say much, you're not supposed to work through these things and get the hell out of it, right? So, bringing that back to here at 5:10 p.m., Tuesday, February 5th, 2019 in downtown Toronto. Bringing that back to Donald Trump hosts establishment media for off-the-record lunch before State of the Union. Trump has not allied himself with the independent media and supported them the way he should. And that's something I do not like about it. Because I'm like, sometimes you're almost tempted to say, well, screw you. You talk about the fake news and the fake news, which means there's other news out there exposing the fact that it's fake news, which is what, so many people relate to. And you're not effing with, Breitbart.com or Infowars.com or the Rebel.media or a bunch of others. Why not? Right? But he is still, partly as a 74-year-old man, or, whatever, but partly also, in terms of charming the media, he's trying to get them on his side. He's trying to say, for 2 years, you bitched about Russia, you bitched about racist, sexist, phobic, you bitched as much as you could about as little as you could. Not some explanation for why you're all messed up, right? Not like, well, my dog died, I've had my dog for 13 years, and I grew up, and when I fell in the well, little Timmy alerted, or the dog went and alerted my parents, Timmy's in the well, and then they got me out, and ever since then, no, it's just, this is not supposed to be messed up. With other people, it's like, hey, R. Kelly has sex with a bunch of 13-year-olds. Yeah, that's creepy, isn't it? Anyway, but that messed up with it, right? So, the idea is how you're supposed to think about it. So, Trump is still trying to charm the media, and I'm going to read a bit about this off-the-record luncheon. And again, I would rather he do more stuff with the independent media, validate them more, people like Breitbart.com. But let's see what Breitbart has to say about it. This is from Charlie Spearing from, again, today, February 5th, 2019. It says here, President Donald Trump invited top establishment media news members to lunch prior to his State of the Union address on Tuesday, the White House confirmed to Breitbart News. The guest list included CNN's Anderson Cooper and Wolf Blitzer, ABC's George Stephanopoulos and David Muir, NBC's Savannah Guthrie and Lester Holt, Fox News' Chris Wallace and Martha McCallum, CBN News' David Brody, and C-SPAN's Steve Scully, according to reports. And there is some tweeting about the official list. So, there's an old saying in the mafia, in, Niccolo Machiavelli's Machiavellian way of thinking, the will to power that rulers have used for the last 300-400 years. In Sun Tzu's The Art of War, right? Which is, how you win wars, how you win battles, right? And one of the sayings is keep your friends close and your enemies closer, right? So this is Trump inviting these key members of the left-wing mainstream fake news media to an off-the-record lunch, and from there he's sort of binding them to be off the record, seeing who'll crack, how they'll crack, how much you can trust people, how they're going to spin things, and he's constantly playing the media, right? Because it's like, imagine looking at somebody freak out for no goddamn good reason, like an adult. I'm talking about a grown-up, right? I'm talking about not a 3-year-old who's throwing a 3-year-old, bumps into something, spills milk. Hey, cry over spilled milk. Then, there. Look, you shouldn't do that, but don't cry over spilled milk, right? And you can tell a 3-year-old can learn. Okay, cool. I'm not going to be a mess. Just about nothing, right? I'm talking about a 33-year-old doing that. About some, parallel allegory, right? That's what you're getting, and that's what the challenge is here, right? So Trump's strategy, when it comes to this, at least in my general opinion, and again, that's why I say check out Breitbart News, it's interesting, it's different takes on sort of what you'd expect, right? Is, hey, you want to investigate me about Russia for 2 years? Great. Pin your hopes on that garbage, A world famous businessman, been on TV for 20 years, #1 rated show, rappers shout me out, everybody loves me. All of a sudden I run into politics, and then Hillary is working with the Russians, Hillary and the Democrats, selling out a lot of America's uranium 1 to the Russians. They often accuse you of doing exactly what they're doing, right? That's the radical left, the Saul Alinsky, communist, socialist, radical left, corrupting traditional free speech. We're cool, liberals, right? And, conservatives and the culture, right? They always accuse other people of doing what they're doing so they can get away with what they're doing, right? The same thing with people bothering people and then say, oh, excuse me, oh, sorry, hey, watch it, It's like crazy homeless people used to do this sometimes. They bump into people and start a fight. Hey, watch where you're going, I got nothing to bother people, right? It's the same thing, right? Or liberal protesters will do that, right? The same people that are at the head of the radical left, right? They'll bump into you, they'll get up in someone's face, hey, watch it, hey, get away from me, right? Just like the Covington Catholic kids, right? That native guy with the drum who's a liar about his war record and a false flag provocateur. He always goes around messing with things, probably paid by some foundations or intelligence agencies to be just somebody they can use to mess with people, but you can't criticize him because he's the wrong color or whatever, so he can do whatever he wants to anybody, right? So you've got some people like that. They either are cool with or they hire to go mess with people. And so that's a lot of what it is, and that's the leaders. That's if you go to the protests. So if you support, the left wing, the Pussy March, the hate Trump people, the mainstream media, if you look at what the people they make, the people that are pushing that, you can see that's their character, right? They bother you, they mess with you, and then they blame you and they accuse you, and that's why they can't talk to people they disagree with, no way, and then they can't talk to each other, and that's how they make them easier to control, the sort of commie zombification of people, right? So it's all clear now. Trump's been in office 2 years. Economy's growing at 4%. Wages are rising. There's jobs everywhere. People are cool and happy. People are breaking free of the radical left. The walk-away movement with Brandon Straka. Tons of stuff out there. YouTube, Twitter, they're all cracking down. Censorship, blah, blah, blah. Everybody shut up. And then offline, you've got the offline InfoWar, which you've got to worry about as well, right? Because there are people involved in this. There's 5 million people in the Greater Toronto Area. There's 25,667 people that supposedly voted for Faith Goldie, Canadian nationalist, not a racist, not a white nationalist, although she does believe in European manners and standards and the history of our country, which is totally cool, because there were polite Canadian white people, black people, gay people, straight people, Asian people here before who all like that too. Not like everyone's, the Chinese people here were like, no, we need to live exactly like we live in China. It's like, no, they were here, they're cool, they're chilling, they're talking like Canadians, they're nice and polite like Canadians, they're watching the Raptors, they're watching the Leafs, they're going out, we're all hanging out, blah, blah, blah. People show up here, they're going to say, it's how Canadians are, it's cool, no problem, nice to each other, polite, insist on it, F off, buddy, not worth it, right? It's totally fine, right? That's the thing. So, you have to understand, that this is an interesting thing that's going on here, right? The Democrats, Hillary, she and her Clinton Foundation took $150 million in bribes from Russians and Russian companies and millions of dollars in speeches. And then, as head of the State Department under Obama, she gave Vladimir Putin a lot of Uranium One, an American company based in Canada that has a lot of Americans' uranium supply for either nuclear energy or nuclear bombs. Right, for $150 million, this is all documented. This is all known because you can. Well, this happened and this happened. Right? It's you have to look. You'd have to go, take it to a court to prove it, but you can definitely prove you should take it to a court. Right? So then they launched this Russia investigation with Mueller, and then Mueller takes 2 years, and everyone's on their hands and knees, hoping for yes, Trump's a Russian asset. Meanwhile, all he's doing is he's making America great again. He's doing some things I don't agree with as well, but economy's good, sovereignty's good, getting out of international agreements. No United Nations, you can't tell us what to do. No International Criminal Court, you can't tell us what to do. No Paris Climate Accords, you can't tell us what to do. No transposition, no, you can't tell us what. No, you can't tell us what to do because you're not American. Now, we don't want to be dicks. We don't tell you what to do, but you can't tell us what to do. All these international institutions, all these globalist institutions taking over, right? Bringing in the open borders policies, open borders and sexualizing children, things that nobody wants. Nobody. You can ask anybody. I mean, people nice enough to talk to each other. Not nice enough to talk to each other, of course. Just wander around bother people, right? Like crazy homeless people do. Not nice enough to get along with people, talk to people, so they go bother strangers, kind of uncomfortable near them, whatever. Not that bad. Get off, be ignored, never show or get respect, close they get, etc. Right? But that's the point. Right? That's what happens. So the left is on this huge campaign to create people, and this is how, in a fascinating way, Trump is trying to get around that, right? It's like, okay, Bob Mueller, no problem. I am making sure America is energy independent. I am trying to sell more gas to Europe because we're all taken care of, and now we're energy independent, and I'm trying to cut into your business, right? So he's deliberately avoiding Russia. It'd be great if he was a lot friendlier with Russia, but because of all the hype, anytime he even says Russia or meets with Putin or something, he's basically avoiding him, and he's even picking little fights with him, just to not take as much shit from the media, but not for any practical reason. And the reason Russia is so demonized is because we have all that predictive programming in our brains from the Cold War, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. Took a break in the 90s for the most part. Now it's back, right? So you can't really say what they've been up to. You can just sort of assume they're bad, right? You can't actually say what they're up to. You just assume they're bad. And you're not supposed to know because you're not supposed to look into it because you assume they're bad, right? So it creates the perfect enemy. It's like George Orwell's 1984 with Oceania and, Australia or Eurasia, Oceania, the West and Eurasia, the East or whatever, right? They're bad, so you're not supposed to talk about them or know what they're up to or anything, and then we can say whatever we want about it with just little accents on the they're bad, right? But in actuality, Russia rescued itself from communism and being looted by the West and Western industrialists after communism by becoming a nationalist Christian, a Russian Orthodox Christian nation, right? So they're like, nope, we're nationalists, Russians first, we're defending our country, we're encouraging people to have kids, we're not letting people mess around, we don't like the LGBT stuff, and you can be for or against that, but we will tolerate it if you're cool, you're not going to go to jail unless you propagandize people and mess with kids. Then you're going to go to jail. But if you're just nice, polite Russian, go with all the other nice, polite Russians, and you want to do that stuff on your own, no problem. You can argue or agree or disagree with that, but we had a polite Canadian version of that here too, where everyone was nice, polite Canadian, and then during the Pride or certain parties, people break out their freak, if they're in a freak on. Yeah, woo, look at this. Yeah, rocking out with my cock out. Oh yeah, rocking out with my cock out. But otherwise, nice, polite Canadians everywhere. Just like during the Chinese festival, the Chinese did this, or the Indian festival, the Indians did this, right? It was certain things, right? And so that's the thing. So getting back to this Breitbart news article, there's a fascinating, it's way better than to just blindly be a mess about almost nothing and then make people put up with it. and then have nothing really to say, nothing to do except for be a mess. It's better to try and understand some of these things. And so Trump inviting these mainstream establishment media members here, you know, he says here, this is a quote from Twitter, "Who would believe how bad it has gotten with the mainstream media, which has gone totally bonkers," Trump wrote on Twitter after the leak. The president continues to brand NBC and CNN as, quote, fake news and very fake news, but still gives them access. NBC and MSNBC are going crazy, he wrote on January. They report stories purposely, the exact opposite of the facts. They are truly the opposition party working with the Dems. They may be worse than fake news CNN if that is possible. And then he tweets here, gave an off-the-record luncheon, somewhat of a White House tradition or custom to network anchors yesterday, and they quickly leaked the contents of the meeting. Who would believe how bad it has got with the mainstream media, which has gone totally bonkers? Right? So, what is Trump doing here? Trump, the goddamn president of the United States, is exposing the fake news in a brilliant, empowering way. I'm sites like Breitbart.com and others to sort of explain this to you. It's incredibly empowering. You might think, no, name bad, make everyone quiet, uncomfortable, don't say anything, everyone quiet, uncomfortable. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. Yeah, right? That's the opposite of that, right? Imagine if we had a leader in Canada, right? In Canada, right? Justin Trudeau, miserable, weak lion, bitchy man, globalist sellout, not working for Canada. He's working. They're doing stuff to us, not for us, to us. Higher taxes, more international agreements, more things that nobody wants. You can ask anybody, do you want open borders? Like literally, anybody, doesn't matter. The world has 7 billion people in it. Our country has 35. There's probably 500 million people, 500 million around the world that want to come here. Right? Open borders. Don't, whatever. Maybe the odd, like, well, there's the serial killer who killed 185 people. But short of that, just let them all in. Doesn't matter. Right? Nobody wants that. Right? How about sexualizing kids? We need to teach younger and younger children more and more about more and more types of sex. We need to do that. There's nothing they need more. God damn it, I'm a grown-ass Canadian man, and I will confidently walk around and tell everybody I know that we need to teach more and more younger and younger children more and more about more and more different types of sex. So they're not phobic, or we're not offending some adults that want us to do that for some reason. Who aren't good at being adults for other adults or good at it for kids. Right? They're just bad at it. Right? But you walk around, you ask anybody. Nobody wants that. Where do these policies come from? They come from the United Nations, the global governance structure. That's why there's nationalism versus globalism. Right? Canada signed on to the UN Global Compact on Migration, or for migration, the Global Compact for Migration, which guarantees that anybody can go anywhere they want around the world. And we're supposed to make that as easy as possible. And now we'll destroy the culture. Again, more people comes in, everybody makes less. Why? There's more people than jobs. There's more jobs than people give you more money. Right? And there's already 1 million children in poverty in Canada. So we have 35 million people. 1 out of every 1 million children in poverty. So 1 out of every 10 kids, whatever it is, or 8 kids, is in poverty in Canada. Whatever that stat works out to. So the point is that these are the things we should be able to talk about, right? These are UN policies. And what's my proof? The UN Global Compact on Migration. The UN guaranteed that you could leave a country, no matter what. Sounds good, right? If you're being persecuted, you don't like it there, we guarantee you can leave. But that left a big loophole. Okay, you're guaranteed to be able to leave and escape your country, which could work in case of persecution. You're a Christian in the Middle East, you might get beaten, stoned to death if you mention it. Get him out of there. Bring him over. Potentially. Right? A white person in South Africa, you're pretty westernized, you're not going to be a dick, you've got some skills, you can work on our farms. Fuck out of here. Go ahead, if you're truly being persecuted. Right? And others. Even other cases too, different minorities, but again, there should be something that they'll contribute as best you can. Right? But the point is that we're actually encouraged to do the exact opposite now. Have no standards. And the UN Global Compact for Migration that Trudeau, Canada, said we're going to be the world leader in doing this. Guaranteed to be able to leave a country. Now the UN is guaranteeing you're going to be able to get into any country you want. Say whatever you want. Right? And that quickly destroys, most importantly, the culture. The jobs, making less money because there's more people coming in, drain on resources, more competition for jobs. That's all part of it. But it quickly destroys the culture. They don't assimilate with people that can't talk about these things. Right? Because they can't. You won't let them. Just, no, don't sit. How dare you? Shut up. No, can you talk about it with me? No, I can't talk about it either. Everyone shut up. Right? They don't assimilate with those people who have no pride, no self-respect. Right? And then those people act stupid, and the migrants rob, rape, and murder you. I'm not saying it's they should, but if you're not going to, on a German subway train, an African migrant who just got there a month ago molested 18 women for 2 hours, just walking along the subway train. And as I explained to a cop when I was vlogging, and they were saying, hey, what's up? I briefly said, look, if we were polite Canadians here, right, and we were cool, like you weren't in your cop uniform, you were a civilian, but we were all cool with each other, right? We respected each other, we could look at, talk to each other, and mind our business, then we would notice something like that within 5 minutes. It wouldn't be, well, an African migrant who just got here from Somalia, or a guy who got here from Germany in Africa, you can see this in Africa. Big blonde German guy walking around, I love black boobies, I love black bum-bums, and none of you people will do anything because you're all bums. You're all lying, bitchy, sketchy bums. Can't even look at and talk to each other. I molest all your women. It's like, it would make it anywhere. Right? And I told the cop, that wouldn't happen here. We would just, a few of us notice, you see that? Yeah, it looks weird to you? Yeah. Let's go over it. 3, 4, 5 Canadian guys go over. Hey man, what's going on? Oh, nothing much. Hey, do you know this girl? No. You got to get it to the other side of the trade. Why? It's none of your business. No, it is our business. You can't just sit near people. You can't just force yourself to be near people. You got to get on the other side of the train, or we'll call security. Say, oh, fine, whatever. And that's it. It's never her business. Girl don't want to bother people, bothered, or whatever. So, strange men bothering girls is none of their business if there are men around, right? If people are nice, of course, right? Then it's not nice, right? Who cares? So, the point is the opposite of that happens in Western countries as a result of this, right? So, this is why it's good to know. Now, getting back to, imagine if you had a leader, like in this 1 week Lion Bitchy Man, Justin Trudeau, possibly, Conservative leader Andrew Scheer, possibly, People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Bernier, possibly Jagmeet Singh, of the NDP, whatever, right? Imagine if you had a leader that would say, the CBC, carefully boring Canadians, total fake news. Can you believe that? I can't believe what the CTV is doing. Oh my God, they're so messing with you. They're turning you into goddamn zombies. These professional lying bitches, I'm doing a great job here for the country, and they're turning you into goddamn zombies that always feel bad and make people feel bad. It's ridiculous. It's bullshit. Imagine if we had leadership saying that and proving it. Because there's people out there supporting. There's people like, wow, what's really going on there? Oh shit. There are people that care about that stuff. And they work on it. And some of them make sense and some of them don't. And you figure that out. And then you share it with people. Online. But offline, how can you? With the zombie default. Right? So, that's what I'm saying. It's empowering. It's empowering to have this going on. Right? Anyway, so 5:32 p.m. here on Tuesday, February 9th, 2018. Or Tuesday, February 5th, 2019, sorry. PK Black Krishna from manforwars.com, 5:32 p.m. Tuesday, February 5th, 2019. So yeah, support the manforwars.com. Just a little, quick sort of whatever. I'm saying all of that is just scratching the surface of what you should be able to talk about. It's not even talking about it. It's just the very basics are things that are hard to get to unless you're a polite, patriotic people. So manforwars.com and other sources for more on that. Otherwise, BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com. Hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.